Welcome to Coaches United. Today I have with me Miss Gloria. She's going to have to pronounce her last name because I don't want to butcher it. Gloria, welcome. Thank you for taking the time today to speak with me and the other coaches that are listening. Gloria, could you tell us, you're welcome. Could you tell us just a little bit about what it is you do?
So I do a lot of things and wear a lot of hats. And I love all of them. So if people ask me what I do, I have created a life I absolutely love. And so we as coaches, that's one of the things we help our clients with, but it's also really something that I took on for myself as well, to be able to say, how can I create a life that I absolutely love? So I raised my 4 kids, did the whole single mom of 4 kids thing, and they're off and running. So at that point, you know, it became, my world shifted and I could really actually make it about me. So I moved to a wonderful place that I absolutely love and adore. And I bought a business and, you know, coaching has been like this thread of mine for about 20 years now. So I do it for a little while and then it's like, I need to play in my own sandbox a little bit, test out some new things, and then I come back to it. And then I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me try this. And does this work in the real world? And then I come back to coaching. So I'm kind of in that phase again where I've created a little bit of time and space and have said, all right, let me get back to that calling, that thing that brings me joy, and add a few coaching clients. So
what is that? What does that call? I mean, what's calling you? Why is it calling you so strongly?
Because I don't know. It's so interesting because the way, you know, we all hear about the law of attraction and things like that, that's out there. And it always seems to come back to me. It's not one of those things that I necessarily go out there and work hard at. It's just something that comes around again and is like, okay, there must be a few more people out there that I need to work with. And so it's like, all right, I'll step into that space again and kind of revisit it. But I've had such great, wonderful results with the clients I've worked with. Amazing. And so it's kind of that where that's why I say it's a calling, like it comes back around. So,
what are you looking to like accomplish with your coaching?
I don't know. I mean, in the world of coaching, there's so many different things that come around as far as I'm a transformational coach, or I'm a divorce coach, or I'm a life coach, or I'm a business coach. I'm kind of all of that. I've never been one that I fit in a box. And that may be just that, like I'm just an out of the box coach. But I probably, if I were to pick some of my favorite clients, it would be entrepreneurial clients. Because I do have a heart for business. It's also working with other coaches to help them because that's business. So helping them find, you know, what makes them, you know, work. And, you know, those would probably be my 2, what I would say, sweet spots.
Nice. Well, you were talking about your clients. What are some of the results that you've gotten for your clients?
So I would say probably like we all have our success stories, right? But there's one in particular that I worked with that just hit a huge marker this year. And he's still, we worked together for, I mean, on and off kind of thing. It was, again, very out of the box. It wasn't structured. It wasn't the, you know, 3 times a month for an hour. I mean, it was very kind of more as needed type thing. But I mean, on and off probably for maybe the last 10 years. And he was one that when we first met, he was an engineer making, you know, a good salary of about $100,000 a year. And I remember him saying, you know, but I want more than this. That was the thing.
You kind of broke up a little bit.
Our question always became, what's next?
Can you hear me, Gloria?
Was that he I can now. I can hear
Okay.
you, but
Okay, you were kind of breaking up there.
Yes, I apologize.
We kind of lost you after you were explaining the results you were getting for the engineer.
Yes. Can you edit this? Because let me plug my computer in too. Can you edit this out for a second? Hold on, I'll be right back.
Okay. Alrighty, we're back.
Okay. Sorry about that interruption, everybody.
Happens.
But where I was saying we worked on and off about 10 years. It was always that question of what's next. If we ran into kind of the stumbling blocks, it was, what do you think about this? I kind of describe myself almost as that muse, where it was just pulling from him what that inspiration was, and giving him kind of those next steps as far as, have you looked into this or have you done this? So anyway, his victory this year that he just shared with me in 2020 was that he just made $1 million in his business. So he literally went from $100,000 as an engineer working for someone else to a business owner. Actually, he's bought and sold a couple of businesses now, and he just made $1 million last year. So
that's excellent.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. That's a good living.
But, yes. And what was so interesting was the fact that he hit that $1 million mark, came back to me, and again, it was the what's next.
And you kind of helped him and guided him through the next step.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now you help a lot of people, right? Now you're the one helping them through their obstacles and overcoming all of their issues and trying to guide them in the right direction. You must have faced some obstacles yourself getting into, I guess, I don't want to say life because that's too broad. I would say getting into where you're at right now.
Yes. So, and I would go, like, I did the whole coaching thing for a very long time, but it was very theoretical. We learn a lot in our training. We learn a lot from the people that we coach. But for me, I had all of these theories. And so after my kids were all grown and I said, all right, I'm going to really embrace, I can take the risk and let me see what I can do with my own life. And so with, at that point, I raised my kids. We were in the Midwest, and I always wanted to move down to Florida. So I moved down to Florida with $200. I sold everything that I possibly could sell. My goal was to get into a 4x6 U-Haul trailer. And I didn't quite make that. I did have some pieces of furniture. It was like a horse trailer, though. That was everything that was precious in the world to me. And I moved down to Florida and said, let's do this. How do I build a life that I absolutely love? And so now, and this was, let me see, this was only not quite 5 years ago. So from $200 in the bank to taking this big risk to now having this life that I absolutely love. I own my own business. I quadrupled it in a matter of months. And expanded. I bought another territory. I live in a beautiful house. I'm getting ready to move again to a house that's on the water because that's where my heart is. I get to drive, fun cars. And just get to do the life that I have science, but also I get to do it. It wasn't always easy. So
still breaking up a little bit.
Yes.
But this happens. What are we gonna do? The show must go on, right?
The Zoom world that we live in, right?
Okay, so I know a lot of people are wanting to know, how did you turn your $200 from coming here to Florida with $200 and then in a few months getting to a better level? Like, how did you do that?
So I asked myself a lot of the questions that I ask my others, the people I work with, and it definitely is a process. So I am all about, we're not going to accomplish something if we don't know what we're going after. So clarity is it. But if we can get clear about what we want, then we'll know when it shows up. So when I came down here, I asked myself that question. If I was going to create my ideal life, what would I be doing?
Yeah.
And so that was where I started. And I said, I would own my own business. Okay, so if I was going to own my own business, what kind of business? And I said, well, I can go back to my roots, which is education. And I said, okay, I would do that. All right, well, do I want to start my own business or do I want to buy a business? No, I think I want to buy a business, but I don't have any money to buy any business. Well, can you negotiate? I don't know. Let's see what we find. So I literally went onto a website and there is a website, what's it called? Biz Buy Sell, that has businesses for sale. And so I just went, but I knew what I wanted.
And what was the name of that website?
bizbuysell.com.
B-I-Z?
For sale.
Right? B-I-Z? By com. Okay.
Yep. bizbuysell.com.
Okay.
And so literally I found the business I bought. It was 15 minutes away from where I was living. And he was selling it. And I was like, well, that's a lot more money than I have. But what can I do? How can I negotiate this? So nothing was impossible. I mean, there's so many of us that get caught in our own head thinking, I can't do it. Right? And in mine, it was like, okay, I found it. Now, how do I make it happen? Let me just see. Right? It's like, and I live by this motto of do something that scares me every day. You know, just one thing that scares me, that one thing that's out of my comfort zone.
Right.
So I picked up the phone and I called Sylvan Corporate. That's the business. I own a Sylvan franchise. And I said, you know, what's the fastest we can get this done? And they said, well, if everything goes perfectly, 6 weeks. And I said, well, all right, got it. Information is power. 6 weeks. But I couldn't live for 6 weeks. Like, I need to eat. So
what's the name of your company? Spell it.
Which company? Oh, my Sylvan. So Sylvan, Sylvan Learning Center.
Okay.
And so what I did at that point was I said, all right, well, let me talk to the owner. Let me develop a relationship with the owner. So I sat down, talked to the owner. We were talking about price and what it was going to be. And I said, I knew, right? I had no money.
Right.
He didn't know I didn't have any money, but I knew I didn't have any money. And I said, all right, why don't we do this? My background is in business and business development consulting, things like that. How about I work with you for a month? You don't, and I negotiated this as well. I was like, I will work with you for a month. Any monies that come in the door are yours for that month, but you need to pay me just a little bit of that. So literally the first month that I worked for him and I learned the business, I built his business, which he did make a lot of money in 1 month.
Nice.
And then at that point, everything transitioned over to me. So I knew no one that did it this way, but his position, he was very anxious to get out of it. He was tired. He was ready to be out of it. He was almost willing to give it away. And so it was just like, all right, I was able to step into a place of how can I help him get what he wants, at the same time helping me what I wanted and what I needed. So we worked out this whole plan. I was able to eat. I was able to buy a business. He was able to walk out. And within, like I said, within, really honestly, it was like 3 months, I quadrupled the size of the business.
Wow.
So yes. And then I went, all right, I got this.
I mean, you sure did. With very little
Yeah.
resources, you became extremely resourceful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's
Well, and part of it too, I think was, and we talk about this too, and about our own confidence and what we're actually capable of doing.
mm-hmm.
And so I just came from this place of, the voices in our head, right?
Right.
So I'm just going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to show up. I'm going to give it everything I've got, and I'm going to show up, and I'm not going to live in fear
Mm-hmm.
that I can't do this, right? I was willing to step into fear.
Yeah.
And so it was, I can remember answering the phone going, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. Like, I know like enough, but I didn't know anything about the Sylvan programs. I didn't know the Sylvan way of doing things, but I answered that phone with every ounce of gusto I had and just was like, how can I help you today? And just started enrolling families and just figuring it out. Like that expression of building your wings on the way down. I do that a lot. So
that's incredible. That's it.
Yeah.
That is a really very powerful story.
And I'm living it still. I mean, we had a meeting today where I'm starting a private school.
Nice.
So yes.
And when did you move here to Florida?
Let me see. This summer will be 5 years.
Wow. So a lot has happened within the 5 years. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Like I said, I have fun in everything that I do.
It sounds like it. It does.
Yeah. I get to live. I mean, it is amazing when you get to live by your own values, your own standards, the things that, and, we just get in our own way.
Yeah.
I honestly do believe that. We don't know what it is that we want. And sometimes if it feels too big, that's so scary. Who am I to think I can actually do this?
Right.
Who am I to think that I have, like, what's so special about me? And we get in our own way. And I do want to say too, it was, for many, many years, I had a coach of my own.
Yeah.
And so it was, such a resource for me to be able to have that background, to be able to almost, I don't want to say, that I didn't need a coach, but at the same time to have that coach, in my head.
Yes.
We all have people in our head. I happen to have my coach in my head.
It's good to have some different voices there in your head that are going to be motivating you and pushing you and nudging you into the direction you want to go in.
Yes, because we all have our naysayers. We all have, the people who are just like, well, are you sure you want to take that big of a risk? Are you sure you're up for that? Have you thought about this? What are you going to do if this happens?
Right.
And, it's just like, I'll figure that out if it ever happens.
That's a good way to look at it, because we all have those voices that creep up in our heads that want to say, hey, you can't do that. What are you thinking?
Yes.
What would
I honestly,
go ahead.
People would say, I could never do what you did. And it was like, well, nobody says you have to. Right? I mean, yes, it was, it was one of those crazy decisions for me.
Right.
But you didn't have to. Nobody asked you to. But what is it that you want?
Right.
What is it that makes you happy? Are you living a life that you're creating for yourself?
That is so powerful, to be able to get that clarity to figure out what it is you want and then start taking those steps to get there. Yes.
So I had answered the questions, and I've done this with multiple clients. To actually, it's so funny because I did this before I even knew what coaching was. more than 20 years ago. I was actually involved in a family business, and we had a fire, and the building just went, burned to the ground.
Wow.
And so it was a huge, like, okay, what am I going to do next? Like, that's always the question. And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to figure it out. So I started with my pros, my cons. What do I really want? And what do I want? And then I started looking for it. Yeah. Most of the time where we fall is kind of like, let me look for the jobs that are available, and then I'll see which one I like.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yes. And I'll fit into that. Where for me, it was, no, I'm going to get clear about what I want, and then it's going to come to me.
Yes. It's amazing how it works. It is quite amazing how it works. Yep.
And so I've done this work with so many of, like, even my coaches that I've worked with, it's always those questions of, okay, creating your ideal coaching practice. How many clients do you want? Who are they?
Yep.
What topics are you working with? Do you want to create programs or do you not? Yeah. Do you want to speak as part of your coaching? What would light you up in your marketing efforts? Right. Do you want to do it or do you want to outsource it? Like, what you're doing. Create it first and then say, okay, now I'm just going to wait for the stuff to show up. I'm going to do the things that light me up.
Yep.
And truly, that's that principle of attraction.
Absolutely. Sure. Once you're doing the things that you really want to wake up in the morning and get started working on, you have a much better chance at achieving everything because you're just like, it's something you're looking forward to and you're excited to do.
Absolutely. Yes. And that's why I say you're your most attractive when you are lit up from the inside out.
I totally agree.
And so the fear is, well, I could do this, but I won't make any money at it. I won't, it's like you see the obstacles before you see the vision.
Right.
It's like create the vision first and then you'll deal with the obstacles as they come.
Right. And then start saying, what if this actually does work out? We'll focus on that picture instead of the picture saying, oh, this is not ever going to work out. How can I do this? Put that aside and focus on how it will work and how it can work and what that future looks like. And it becomes a little bit more simple if you do that.
And it always will change, right? That's what they say. You make your best plans and then God laughs, right? Like,
this is true.
And, we learn our muscles of resilience and flexibility and, okay, I needed to learn this so that it will fit together for this.
Yep.
It's amazing. I love life as a whole.
I'm with you, girl. I'm with you. I love life too.
So true.
Yes. Before we end the conversation, which has been a very lovely conversation, what are 3 of your top tips that you would like to give the viewers on if there's somebody trying to achieve their goal? What's your top 3 tips that you would want to give them?
Top 3 would be, and I know too, we're talking to, a group of coaches where this will be. So as a coach, I would probably say clarity is always the first step.
Yes.
So what do you want that practice to look like? And what do you want to experience? I know when I first started as a coach, everybody would say I needed a specialty. Everybody was coming at me saying I needed a niche.
Yes.
And, I was too big but it was like, I looked at all as a playground. So it was like, I want to play over here and I want to play over here and I want to learn a little bit more about this. So it's very restrictive and freedom is a huge value for me. So I was taking it in, but at the same time, I knew it was still my playground.
Yeah.
So, just get clear as much as you can what feels good, right? And what resonates within you. And then I would say the next thing is definitely looking at your strengths and your weaknesses and building your support team.
Yes.
Am I really good? Because I know for me, and this is how we connected, for me, if I really wanted to, build my coaching, that marketing piece in the coaching world was always my weak spot, always. But when it came to the actual coaching itself, it was amazing, and that part of stuff, toot my own horn, right? But, it was just, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, be confident in that, and build on your strengths, outsource your weaknesses. Absolutely. It's a great way to do business as a whole. And then the third thing would be probably, again, get out of your comfort zone.
Good.
Right? And whatever that thing is for you that you live by. Like for me, do something every day that scares me. And again, not terrifies you, right? Yeah. Because there's but something that just makes you uncomfortable. Picking up that phone and calling that person that makes you uncomfortable.
Right.
Saying yes to an opportunity that shows up that you're like, I'm not quite sure about this.
I know.
Let me get in, right? And let me see where it leads me. Yes, this opportunity is out there. I don't have it 100% figured out, but let me just get the information to see what happens.
Yes.
So, yes, one step after another. So I would probably say, that's probably 3 simple things. Right, that we all.
Those 3 simple things are very powerful, extremely powerful.
Yes, no doubt.
Well, Miss Gloria, I want to thank you for taking the time today. I know you are an extremely busy woman, and you're here and you're there and you're helping a lot of people. And I really appreciate you taking the time out to have this conversation with all of us.
Yes. Well, I love it. I do. I love, like I said, it's one of those when I started this and where I am, that I just, coaches are so important. They're so important. Like, I just cannot even stress that enough, that the world really needs that support system, especially right now.
Yes.
And so if we're here and we're exploring it, it's like, we definitely need to step into it and grow and say, I'm here. So thanks for having me.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. And to everybody out there in the online world, until Coaches United sees you again, I will see you on the next video. Have a good one.